Do you ever think about what freedom is or what it means to you? Or do you feel free? Or how do you get there? And why would I say that you fear freedom more? Because the only place you experience freedom is in your consciousness. The only way you experience anything at all in your life is through your consciousness. And that is always being formed as you live. But it's also always being formed in our world as well. So you can't really accept something a lot of times if you haven't seen it being done or demonstrated to for you in some particular way. That's just how we operate as humans. We come into the world and we have to learn certain things. But then we might get stuck. And then we think that we're trapped because we're not experiencing freedom because we're not connected to ourselves. We don't know who we are. We're a little lost or we're a little afraid. And that is because you fear freedom more. Because freedom is actually owning who you are. It's becoming your authentic self. That's the process that you move through throughout your life. Whenever you might live, that's the same one that we each go through as a human being. So the only way that you're going to experience that freedom is when you become your authentic self. And that is a journey. And it doesn't matter where you came from or what that journey was like. It's the same for every single person because everything is energy. Everything in the universe, in the world, on the planet is energy. The way that you create your life is energetic through your thoughts, through your consciousness, through the way that you choose to use it. However, it's also being developed over time. But I'm going to read something to you today. It's the 13th of my lucky day. My lucky number is 13. Just to get that out of the way. That seems a little, that's just kind of been who I am. But today is the 13th of November. But I'm going to read a message from the 13th of November from 2017, because then I can explain to you how I know that you are in the world now to do something really wonderful, and the only reason you're not experiencing your freedom at this or feeling it is because you just haven't accepted yourself or who you're meant to become or what you are supposed to do in your life. That's just the journey that you're on. And I know that, so I can tell you that today. I couldn't have told you before, though, because, see, I wasn't willing to experience my freedom. Because I had to then talk about and become vulnerable and talk about who I had become. But let's read the message first, and then I'll explain what all of that means and what you're might be feeling in your life or experiencing in the world now, because you're supposed to. You're here to do something great. And this is the message. You fear freedom more. November 13th, 2017. This message may come as a bit of a surprise to you, and even the title you have chosen to give it may seem confusing. This scenario will begin to explain it. You go through your life performing what you think are great works to you, so to speak, of uncovering all those things you thought were keeping you from having what you wanted. And you discovered how many of them were just illusions you began to believe. Now, as you move through this process, you can start to see there is nothing in your way, so there is no longer any reason to not go for what you desire. But somehow you still feel stuck as you articulate it. The reason this occurs for you is twofold. First, you know that taking whatever step is before you will lead you into that unknown you have come to fear. Then secondly, you also know that taking this action will require you to accept new responsibility, which always comes with new awareness. Acknowledge this part of the process, decide you will move through it, and embrace the fear as you do it. You will amaze yourself. Wilhelm. I received that, as you can see, several years ago, but I hadn't accepted my freedom yet because I was still accepting who I had become, which is what you are doing as well. I'm going to tell you this little scenario now because it's important. There's nothing happening in your life or in our world that is accidental. It's all energetic, and it happens at certain times, and We are affected by the changes in our galaxies, our planets, and all of that because everything is energetic. We happen to be moving through a transformative time in our world, and I was given this information, and that's what I had to accept. And so what happens is when you come into alignment with who you are, because the only reason that you would have any challenge in your life or difficulty is that you have not learned, discovered your life purpose, or you're judging it, or you didn't understand it, you couldn't interpret it, so you're not living the life that you could have, because that's an energetic flow, again, that you have not allowed yourself to experience. But then also you're dealing with generational limitations that we all have, which is the period that we're moving through now. And the reason that it is occurring is because of certain planets and things that are changing that have never occurred before. So as humans, we are being affected emotionally. But the way that we're being affected is so that we could move closer to having freedom, but that only comes with you. That only comes when you decide to take the next step in owning who you are. So the most ridiculous thing that I could tell you is that you can do everything that you want, and I know that. I'm saying it that way because I didn't believe it either. I did not believe, and I couldn't believe the world looked the way that it did, and I couldn't believe that I was given something that could change the world. And I'm saying that because I know that that's what's happened. Because when you think about it logically, if every person, if more people are understanding who they are and loving themselves and moving through all the past generational trauma that's existed within them, they're going to live this great life, and then they're going to give it to others. They start giving it to their people who come later, and then they start doing something different, and then we see a very different world. And I was given that plan, and it's called your life operating instructions, because the world was changing, and they said my Wilhelm, and I had to talk about that because that didn't even make sense. Except when you read all of the writings, you will see that it does. And I've put up so many things to give you so much information. We only evolve, change, or do anything in our consciousness. And there is a collective consciousness that sometimes we don't get over because we can't believe certain things. Except we're supposed to create something new, all of us. And what we're doing now is creating a new world. And the way that we do that is by how much you decide to love yourself, how much you decide to take the next step in your journey and own who you are. Now, I can say this because I know that I know who you are. I can see that. There's no person who can sit in front of me that I can't feel the energetic block, because that's all we have, are blockages that we are not moving beyond. When I do a channeling session, that's what comes through when I'm answering questions or when I'm doing a private one. We have different dimensions of consciousness that we exist in, always. And so I don't remember when I'm channeling because I'm in a different consciousness then, but I'm receiving cosmic guidance, universal information, and I just put up a couple of videos explaining that, and so you can find all of this on my YouTube channel. But I wanted to give you this information today because I want you to know that nothing that's going on now in the world should frighten you because you have everything you need to create this great life and contribute to our world. We all do. We just have to decide that we're going to move through the old stuff. That's all that ever happens. And the old stuff is you holding on to who you used to be and not accepting the new person that you became today, because it changes every single day. The messages that you will read on my site, on Any Advice for Today, or if you look at the links that I have in the videos recently on my YouTube channel, you will see that I've put together several strings of messages over years so that you can kind of get the concept that we evolve in our consciousness individually. We accept so much, but then there's also a collective consciousness, and that's what our world is moving through now. How many people should be around? How many people deserve to live? How many people deserve to prosper? I'm saying this because we've moved through periods like that throughout civilization. We just happen to be doing one now, and you are alive to contribute to that, and you do that when you stop fearing your freedom. That means that you decide that you're going to own who you are and your life path and your divine plan. And I've said that before because people say, I don't have a divine plan, and I'm saying you do, and I've seen it. And I know that it is because I've not seen any single soul who ever comes who doesn't have it. Now, what you might have is an unwillingness to move beyond the restrictions or the limitations, because I did that, you see. And that's also why I wrote the book on fear, because that's the first thing that will get you, that will hold you back, is the fear of that unknown or who you could become. Because there are no limits to what we can do, only the ones that we accept. And because when you think about that, every human's born the same way. You're born with consciousness. Doesn't matter what physical body, race, gender, none of that matters. It's just your consciousness and how you decide to use it. And I will tell you from personal experience that when you use it in a way that you become aligned, you also heal. And that's what I've experienced. And at 74, I can tell you that it works. And that's what I wanted to give you. And so your freedom is in front of you when you decide to take the next step into ownership of who you are. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Please subscribe to the channel and share this with others. I would like others to know how important they are and how now is the time for them to start to accept their freedom, because it exists within them. See you soon.